The Sun Devils absolutely beat down Iowa State to win the Big 12 championship. Hopefully it put the league on notice because ASU, not Boise State, should get a first-round bye for the college football playoff.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am Richie Bradshaw, and I would be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils, not just Arizona State Sun Devils, Big 12 champion ASU Sun Devils. I have a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, but thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode, of course, it's sponsored by our friends at FanDuel. If you are a new customer, place a $5 bet. If it wins, $150 in bonus bets for you. You can place on anything. Just go to FanDuel.com today to sign up. Guys, first of all, if you did happen to be a new customer for FanDuel and you put down that $5 bet and it won, hopefully it was on ASU to get a money line or to cover a spread or to hit an over-under or team total or whatever, because ASU mopped the floor with Iowa State in a game that should send a message and shockwaves throughout the entirety of college football. This was the game where, like, if you weren't watching going into this game of like, oh, hey, look, ASU's 10-2. Hopefully you watched this game and you went, oh, poop, but not the word poop. Something else that I don't want to get in trouble and say on air. This is a beatdown. It was such a big beatdown that I got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got to talk about how this Valley's activated. This sleeping giant is wide awake. We got to talk about the whole notion of last the first, laughable. But first, we got to start with what's in front of us. And that's the college football playoff. The final ranking will come out tomorrow. That's it. This is the one. This is the one that will decide who's in the playoff and who is not. Well, good news for you. ASU is in the playoff. That's right. Not only are the Sun Devils Big 12 champions after they were picked to finish last. More on that later. Not only that, they are going to the college football playoff with a chance to win a national championship. Let that sink in for a second. ASU can win a national championship. Yeah, they're probably going to have the worst odds of anyone or some of the worst odds, but anything can happen. Tomorrow, we're going to find out what the path to the national championship looks like for ASU. Now, in case you don't know, the top 4 auto bids, there's 5 auto bids for the 5 highest ranked conference champions. The top 4 will receive a bye week. The 5th will have to play in the opening round of the playoff. There's been a lot of debate for who deserves the 4th spot. The Big Ten has one locked up. The SEC has one locked up. The ACC seemingly has one locked up. We have no idea what to do with that. We'll find out tonight. And then it was between the Big 12 and a G5 team, which is Boise State. Now, Boise State is currently ranked ahead of ASU, which would mean that they would get that bye over ASU. And I'm here to tell you that's wrong. Now, we'll start with this. There's a little bit of bias. Of course there is. How could there not be bias when I talk about Arizona State Sun Devils? My university, that's my alma mater. That's the team I was raised to love and to cheer for on every Saturday. From the moment I could walk, the moment I was born, I was probably wrapped in something maroon and gold. I was raised to bleed maroon and gold. This is my school. It's my everything. Yeah, of course I'm going to back them till the day I die. But I can also tell you from an objective opinion and from somebody who has to see things the way they are, ASU absolutely has to be the final bye week. If you're going to award 4 bye weeks of 5 conference champions, you need to get this figured out. Boise's currently ranked ahead of ASU. Rankings are all fine and everything. If that's what you're going to stick with, though, then you need to put ASU ahead of Boise State. I don't care whose feathers it ruffles. That's what you need to do. And here's why. It's not even just because it's the right thing to do, because ASU is a Power 4 conference champion. and Boise State is a G5 champion. It's not even that, because Boise State is a really, really good football team, and they beat everyone in front of them this year. Their only loss was to the number 1 ranked team in the country, and it was a 1-possession loss. So, yeah, Boise State still incredibly worthy. They're not doing what ASU is doing. What ASU is doing is unbelievable. It should be one of the biggest national stories in the sport. And after today, I seriously doubt that we are going to continue to not talk about what Kenny Dillingham is doing at ASU. It has slowly started to pick up some traction. And after today, that's going to be something that a lot of people talk about for a long time. The rest of the year, it should be one of your main stories. It's insane what he's done. You know what he has done. He took a program in the middle of NCAA sanctions, coming off of consecutive 3-loss teams, no NIL players that are transferring, all sorts of madness. And he has won a conference championship his first year in the championship. It's unbelievable. There are a few guys who could do this, and Kenny Dillingham is doing it. And it's not a fluke team. People are calling it a Cinderella team. If it is for 1 year, it is a Cinderella team. But it's not going to be 1 year, because they're going to be just as good next year when they return the vast majority of this roster, the vast majority of this coaching staff, and have the fans all in. This is a team that's built for future success. They didn't just capture lightning in a bottle. I will walk that back if that isn't true next year, but it will be true next year. Book it. But here's why they should be ranked ahead of Boise State right now. Not even because of the future success, not even because of the storylines with ASU. They're just flat out a better football team. From top to bottom, ASU is a better football team than Boise State. And again, don't get me wrong, that is a good Boise State team. I am very aware that in my opinion, rightful Heisman Trophy winner, Ashton Jeanty, is on that team. I'm aware of how good he is. If I had a vote, I'd give it to him. And again, I am 100% of the proponent that Boise State should be in the playoff. And I would be able to understand why they might get a bye over ASU, but they shouldn't get a bye. They're not the better football team. That just is what it is. There's no debating that. If you put ASU and Boise State on a neutral site game and played the game 10 times, ASU is winning that game. They are simply more talented. If you take Ashton Jeanty off that football team, Boise State is still a bowl team. They are still a good team. They are not a playoff team. There's a reason he's a Heisman candidate at a G5 program. It's because he is taking a quality to good team and taking them to an opportunity to win a national championship. They're not doing it without him. Look at Arizona State. They've been banged up throughout the year a handful of times. They had a game without Sam Leavitt. They lost on the road. He comes back. They win 6 straight now. ASU is 11-1 with Sam Leavitt as a starter. Cam Skattebo missed a game. Cam Skattebo, by the way, legitimate Heisman Trophy case. He needs to end the year in New York. He missed a game. They still won the game without him. This game and for the remainder of the season, wide receiver Jordyn Tyson is done. He's out for the year, some kind of upper body injury. We don't know the specifics of it. 1,100 yards receiving. He led the nation in receiving yards over about a month and a half span, something like that. That's a huge loss. Guess what? They did just fine without him. 3 passing touchdowns through the air. Sam Leavitt was just airing it out. It was like, yeah, it really sucks. I don't have my number 1 receiver, but I'm still a really good quarterback, and I've still got more than good enough players who can catch the football and make plays for me. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. So yeah, you can take away some of ASU's best players, and they're just fine. It's not as though ASU doesn't have those kind of guys, but they have more than just Jeanty. The defense is really good too. I heard the announcers call him today. They called him a bend but don't break. You listen to the show, you know how I feel. It's not bend but don't break. Watch some film. They are a step up to the occasion defense. Guess what? They got to run over their first 3 drives. What happened after that? They killed it the rest of the game. Essentially a shutout in the second half, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, they got 9 points on a gimme field goal, which why are you kicking field goals down that low? I roll over on your back and lose, I guess. But and then the garbage time touchdown. Like, sure, you got 9 points. Game was so far over at that point. ASU forced 3 turnovers in the second half to start things off, and they scored a touchdown on each one of those turnovers. It's a complete team. They've got a Heisman candidate at running back, just like Boise State. The difference is they have a quarterback who, at worst, is top 10 in the country right now. At any range, in any level, any conference, division, whatever. Sam Leavitt is one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the country right now. Might be higher. I'm not going to pretend I know what 10 other quarterbacks are doing that are better than him. But if you're talking about some of the elite quarterbacks in college football, Sam Leavitt is doing just as well as some of those other guys. He just is. Cam Skattebo, we already mentioned him. The defense is great. They've got a cast of pass catchers. Jordyn Tyson's gone. Guess what? Xavier Guillory had 2 touchdowns. Malik McLean had a 41-yard grab. Cam Skattebo is still a weapon in the passing game. They got it done without him. And again, this defense is nasty. It's nasty. It's not bend but don't break. We need to stop that narrative. I will fight it till the day I die. I will die on that hill. This is not a bend but don't break defense. ASU should be in over Boise State because flat out they're the better team. You can push narratives if you want, and you have an argument. Well, Ashton Jeanty, Heisman candidate, blah, blah, blah. G5 team makes sense. Okay, ASU, stacked team, Cinderella team, if you want to use that narrative. Kenny Dillingham, youngest coach in college football, Heisman candidate, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, Heisman candidate and Heisman candidate. That's really weird. And then ASU has more going for them. No offense to Boise State. I have already said throughout this first portion of the podcast, you are a really good team. You deserve a playoff spot. I'm not debating that. I am debating, and I am telling you that the committee and anybody else who thinks this is wrong, Boise State does not deserve a first-round bye over Arizona State. Hopefully it doesn't happen. It feels inevitable that it probably will, and we'll be sure to keep you updated if or when it happens or if and when it doesn't happen. No matter what, Locked On Sun Devils will keep you posted, so turn on notifications. I got you there. All right. We got to talk about this first to last thing, or this last to first thing, I should say, because how crazy is it that a media poll said you were the consensus number 16 team, only to go on a tear, stun the college football world, and win your conference championship first year in? We got to talk about that because that's crazy, and that's coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let me talk to you about our friends over at Mint Mobile. I love a good deal just as much as the next guy, but I'm not willing to crawl through a ton of hot coals or anything else like that. Maybe you are, but I'm not for saving a few bucks. It has to be easy, no hoops, no BS. So when I see that Mint Mobile has a great deal to get easy wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them out on it, and it turns out it really is that easy to get $15 a month for your plan. The longest part of the process was just the time that I had to spend on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. There, you're going to see all 3-month plans. All of them are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan as well. You can bring your phone number, all your existing contacts as well. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. $45 upfront payment is required, equivalent up to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower than 40 gigabytes or unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com for details. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in to make Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. Last to first, huh? Last to first. It was a ridiculous notion when it came out in the offseason. It looks even worse now. Here's why. This was not a bad roster. In fact, there was a lot of talent on this roster. Turns out some of their most talented players are just all conference guys. Sam Leavitt, Cam Skattebo, Jordyn, Tyson. You have several really good players on the offensive line. You got other pass catchers that are really good. The defense has a ton of really good players, and they showed it this year. You also had a great coaching staff. Brian Ward was back as the defensive coordinator, one of the best adjustment coaches that I've ever witnessed. Look at the first 3 drives that Iowa State put together against ASU. It could have been 13 points. They did miss a field goal. It could have been worse, and then shuts them out until the fourth quarter. I mean, that's what you're talking about with any kind of coaches being able to see, okay, that didn't work. We're going to switch, and then boom, it worked. That's why it's not bend but don't break. It's making adjustments and stepping up to the occasion. I could go on all day. We don't have time for that. Great coaching staff. A lot of really good assistant coaches back. And then they bring in Marcus Arroyo to be the new offensive play caller. And lo and behold, look what he does to this thing. Holy cow. This offense has been otherworldly this year. This has been one of the best offenses the Sun Devils have fielded in a long time. I mean, you tell me, leave a comment. When's the last time you saw an ASU offense that was this good? Because even if you go back to the height of the Todd Graham days with like Taylor Kelly, and you had the stable of running backs with like Marion Grice and Demario Richard and Cameron Marshall, like all of those guys, and then you still had your Jalen Strongs and Cam. I can't remember his name. Not Cam Thomas. It'll come to me. They had a lot of weapons, and I still think that this offense would boat race that offense. It's insane. So the coaching staff, terrific. Kenny Dillingham was back. If you watched ASU last year, you also know that this is a team that was much better than their record showed. Yeah, they won 3 games. They could have easily won 3 more. They may have been able to win 4 more. They were in more games than they were not. You got boat raced by Oregon and Utah and U of A. Other than that, you won 3 games. You were in 4 others. That's 10 games, right? So then you had 2 other games that I can't remember. Yeah, that sounds right. It was not a bad team last year. You just had 3 wins. So when we go into this year and everyone is predicting ASU to finish last, that is insane to me, because what that tells me is you don't know anything about ASU. And that's fine. Totally understand. This is a team that was coming off consecutive 3-win seasons. Not one, consecutive 3-win seasons. Second year of a complete and total rebuild with a team that just had no direction because of everything that had happened with the NCAA sanctions. I can understand how you got there, but it doesn't mean it wasn't wrong back then, and it looks even worse now. ASU, a damn good football program. They were good coming into the year. Did anyone see this coming? No, not unless you were the craziest fan in the world, and if you are, I love you. You were my favorite. You were my absolute favorite if you were one of the people that truly believed this was possible. I said 7-5 in the offseason. I thought I was being optimistic. I believed that ASU was going to have a better year. No one saw this coming. No one saw this coming, which only makes it that much worse that you picked them to finish last. In my personal Big 12 media poll, I believe I had ASU around 12, and that was way more fair. If you stuck around for the podcast for the last 6 months, you will know that the way I went into this year, I believe there was 2 specific categories in the Big 12, and then what I called limbo. I believe that at the top tier, not category, in the top tier, you had 5 teams. Man, did I whiff on those. K-State, Kansas, Utah, Oklahoma State, Arizona. Turns out only one of them was good, and they were still a handful of games behind everyone else. I then said you had the bottom tier of the conference, which was some order of Cincinnati, Houston. Oh, God, who else did I put in there? There was like 3 or 4 teams. I did not include ASU. I did not include UCF. I did not include Colorado. I said they're in limbo because they could be good or they might be bad. I don't know what to do with them. But they aren't the worst teams in the conference. They just aren't competitors. Obviously, we were all wrong about that. But that was the way that I interpreted it, and that was the way that I feel a lot of other people should have interpreted it. Was this is not a bad football team inherently. It's very talented. They're well coached. Just hasn't clicked yet. Well, it clicked this year, and it clicked quickly. 3-0 start to the year. They were 5-2 at their final bye week, and then they strung off 5 straight wins. They had 4 ranked wins this year, including today's win over Iowa State. Before anyone goes to the comments and they're like, oh, K-State's not ranked and Utah's not ranked. I don't care. They were ranked when you beat them, and it's about when you beat them, not where they're at now. It's where they were when you beat them. We would do the exact same thing for any other team. Go look at an SEC team. How many ranked wins do they have? Well, how many times do they play a ranked team? Exactly. It's not about at the end of the year where they are. It's about when you played them. Is what it is, I suppose. But this whole last to first thing, it was a great narrative that clearly resonated with the Sun Devils players. And Kenny Dillingham can look you in the eye until he's blue in the face and go, yeah, we don't care about that stuff. To a certain extent, sure, you don't care about it. You don't care about it in the sense of we're still going to play football games. You do care about it in the sense of look at the disrespect we're being given. Whiteboard material, bulletin board material, whatever the phrase is, we're going to use that as motivation. We're going to play damn good football. We're going to win games. We're going to shock the world. Yeah, they didn't care about how it was going to hurt their feelings, but they did care that you gave them that motivation, that fire in their stomach to say, yeah, we got a lot of people to prove wrong this year. And every single week after all the wins they had, players, they were excited. You sat down, you talked with them more, and they said, you know what, we're going to celebrate today, and it's right back to work tomorrow. We're getting back in the film room. We're working out hard on the field. We're going hard in practice. We're doing everything we can. This is a team that was dialed in all year long. You think you expect that from a team that's supposed to finish last? No, you don't expect that from a team who is supposed to finish last. ASU was prepared the entire season. 2 losses. They needed those losses. Texas Tech was a humbling loss. Cincinnati, kind of a crappy loss going into a bye week. Other than that, I mean, ASU worked their you-know-what off for every win they had this year. And when they had that stretch against BYU and K-State where they didn't close the door and they let them get into the games at the last second, well, they said, we're not doing that anymore. And they beat the you-know-what out of U of A, and they beat the you-know-what out of Iowa State. They responded. They said, fine, if this is going to be the way you look at us, then we're going to change the way you look at us. And they start delivering butt whoopings. They should never have been first to last. That was an LOL back then. It is an LMAO now. Horrible take. Any one of my peers who put them 16th out of 16, you either didn't know anything about ASU, which is fine, just own it, or you don't like ASU, which is not fine. I don't like Arizona. I put them, I think, 3rd, maybe 4th on my preseason poll. Because it's not about your feelings, it's about being objective and knowing what you're talking about. So putting ASU last, you didn't know what you were talking about, or you didn't like ASU. They were never last place, and they just proved that to you today. Conference champions, they beat down Iowa State. It wasn't close. Hopefully you watch that game, and then next year when you do your polls, you'll be able to readjust accordingly. This Valley's activated, man. This Valley's activated. This sleeping giant that ASU is, they woke it up. The Valley's rocking. Things have never looked brighter for ASU. We're going to talk about what comes next, coming up next. Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our friends over at FanDuel are here to help you tackle the NFL action as America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers bet $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if that $5 bet wins. That can be on anything from a money line to a player prop, team total, over, under, or more. If you want to make live bets, FanDuel, their sportsbook app, is going to do everything that you need to have the confidence when you get that hunch in the middle of the game. You can check out the latest stats, a live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you're placing your bets so you have the confidence to make the right bet. Join FanDuel.com today. You get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Wherever you're getting your shows, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. You will get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in to make us your first listen of the day. Last to first, ASU over Boise State. At the end of the day, we can laugh about narratives and we can make any points that we feel are necessary to make, any points that we feel need to be taken seriously. But if there's one thing that ASU fans should know at this point in time, something that fans should realize, something that fans should take some pride in, know this. Two things. This valley's activated, and this sleeping giant is awake. I had some people in my comments that were saying, it's one season. Calm down, slow your boat, whatever. I hear you. But I don't hear you. The reason why, I already listed it out earlier, this is not a team that is set for 1 year of success. This isn't a Cinderella team. Yeah, everything came together for ASU, but that would be pretending that this isn't a team that has a ton of talent, from the coaching staff to the players, from the transfers and the seniors and the graduates to the freshmen and redshirt freshmen that are on this team. This was always a good football team, and it's going to continue being a good football team. It's not like this team was a bunch of seniors that just everything clicked at the same time and they're all gone next year. The core of this team is intact. 35 of 44 players who could be your starting 11 on either side or the primary backups to those 11. 35 of 44 are eligible to return. Guys are already saying they're coming back. You just won a Big 12 championship. A lot of them are going to come back. I'm not going to promise 35 of 35. Don't be surprised if it's the vast majority of them. ASU's in a great spot right now. So sure, maybe it is just 1 year because it's literally only been 1 year. It's not going to be 1 year. As long as Kenny Dillingham is here and he's not going anywhere, get that thought out of your head. Kenny's not going anywhere. If you think that Graham Rossini's not about to throw a blank check at Kenny Dillingham to make sure he never leaves Tempe, the place that he has called his dream job for years, the place where he was born and raised and grew up and went to school at and graduated and met his wife. Well, I think they actually met back. Got it. You know what? I think they said they went to elementary, middle, high school, and college together. I think that's what it was. But that school has a lot of meaning to Kenny from the moment he was born. Just like me. He was probably wearing maroon and gold stuff the moment that he came out of that hospital or wherever, he was birthed. He was already in maroon and gold. He's not going anywhere. This is his dream job. When a guy says that with the conviction that Kenny Dillingham has, you believe him. He's not going anywhere. And even if someone threw a pile of money at him, ASU is going to fire right back and they're going to say, we're going to match or we're going to outbid them. Because guess what? The other part of this, number 2 that I want you to remember, this valley's activated. The whole activate the valley movement, hashtag activate the valley, it's activated. NIL's going crazy. Do you think it's not going to get better after today? No, NIL is going to get that much better after today. Things are going to spike through the roof. I promise you, the Sun Angel Collective is probably going crazy right now with people that are signing up, making donations, becoming annual subscribers, anything like that. Local businesses are trying to get in contact with the Sun Angel Collective to start promoting these players. Not just Cam Skattebo, not just Sam Leavitt. They're calling about all of these guys. This is a group that is going to be. So what I'm not trying to say is historic. What I am trying to say, this is a group that a lot of people are going to remember because of the position that they were put in and how quickly they responded. I'm not saying in 40 years everyone's going to remember every player on this team, but at this point in time and for the next few years, people are going to remember this group. People are going to remember Sam Leavitt and Skattebo. They're going to remember some of the second-tier players, some of the guys who were backups that eventually became starters on this team. This is going to be a team that's remembered. It's a special group. And it's because of that, because that sleeping giant that ASU has been called for so long is up, it's moving, it's pissed off. This valley's activated. They are backing ASU like we haven't seen them back in a long time. The height of the Todd Graham era, probably about a 3, maybe 4-year stretch. Valley was all in. That's the floor for this Kenny Dillingham team, is 4 to 5 years. What they're building right here is exceptional, and you need to start paying attention to it. And this isn't even for Locked On Sun Devils fans, because I know that a lot of you, if not all of you who were tuned in, are all in on the Sun Devils. But there's a lot of other people who are unsure, and they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. The people that say, slow your roll, it's 1 year. You're right, it is 1 year. But this isn't a 1-year wonder. This isn't the Cinderella team. I will take the Cinderella narrative if that's what helps ASU to get higher in the ranking that they deserve. But this is a team that's built to last. This is a team that is built to, if they keep getting better, win championships. They're certainly going to contend for the Big 12 for however long they want to. It's a wide open conference. They just dominated it in their first year. They're not going anywhere. ASU is going to be one of the heavy favorites for the next several years, especially with everything that's staying intact. They're going places. It's not a 1-year wonder. It is 1 year. Slow your roll. I hear you. I do. I really do. But I don't. I also do not hear you, because that is not what this team is. This team is special. They're bought in. The giant is awake. The valley is activated. We have a huge day tomorrow with the final college football playoff poll being revealed. Hopefully the committee gets it right and they make ASU the 4 seed ahead of Boise State. They need to get that right. But you know what? Even if they don't, we will complain about it and we'll get right back onto the football field and we'll make people look stupid. I don't care where you go in the country. I don't care if you're going to the moon. I don't care if you are going to Antarctica to play your next football game. And I don't care who it's against, because ASU is playing football right now that has them feeling confident, and it should have the rest of the country scared. Nobody should look at ASU right now and go, that's an easy win. Every team, Oregon, Bama, Ohio State, Texas, whoever, should look at ASU and go, they could beat us. They could definitely beat us. We need to play our A game. That's the way you need to look at this team. That's what makes them special. That's why they should be ranked higher. That's why it's laughable to look at the last to first narrative. It's special. This is a special, special football team. And I'm covering them all the time, just about every day. In fact, we will be live pretty soon. At the time of this, it's 3:44. This will be uploaded very soon. And then at 5 o'clock tonight, December 7th, tune into the live. BYOB, bring some good vibes. We don't have a curfew. We're going to have a good time. If you were listening to this in the future, do not worry. You can still get that live show reaction wherever you're getting your shows, just like this show. All you have to do is hit subscribe, hit the like button, and then do yourself a favor and turn on notifications. So when we do go live or when we have new content up like this, you will get that notifications whenever we do that. You can also help yourself out by following me on Twitter at RichieBrats36 and the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. To all of you that are already here, I appreciate each and every single one of you. I appreciate even more my everydayers who are here every day, but even to those aren't subscribed, thank you all so much for tuning in to check out this episode. I hope you stick around, and I hope that you buy into the Sun Devils like you never have before, because this team is special. I will see you guys very, very soon. Until I see you, till then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.